The Rams are officially revamping their primary logo. We have all the details on the Rams' latest rebrand. Also, 7 big-time blockbuster moves the Rams could make that would prove they're all the way in on a Super Bowl run in 2026. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor, hit the like button, drop a comment. Also, make sure you are subscribed. Join the party, trying to get to 23,000 subscribers. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me DMAC. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation, the LA Sports Report. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. The People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, will be back tomorrow. But on today's show, another jam-packed off-season edition of Locked On Rams. By the way, Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the number one sports podcast network. And we're going to dive right into a story that Rams fans have been very focused on this offseason. We're going to get to those big moves they can make. But really the hottest story that a lot of Rams fans are obsessing over these days is a new LA logo that we have new information on. And this is from Zach Cohen over on Twitter. And he's kind of like the NFL new uniform, new logo kind of expert. It's a kind of niche thing. He's got sources in the uniform in the logo industry. And he's been on this. And what we've been waiting for is the draft hat. And when they had a recent draft preview event, they had all of the hats available except for the Rams and except for the Titans. The Titans already have a confirmed new logo. And if this hat that they put out is any indication on what the logo is going to look like, well, basically what they're doing is they're keeping this same LA logo. Podcast listeners, I'm showing a hat here that has the LA logo with the horn on it, but they're doing away with the gradient and they're just making it all the color soul, all the color yellow. It looks like a downgrade to me. I'm not extremely fond of it. It makes it, I think, harder to kind of see the horns on it. But if you want to go to Twitter, if you want to go on social media, this hat is starting to come up everywhere. Now, the draft hats haven't officially been released yet, but they will be very soon. And the logo, it pretty much confirms what a lot of the rumors have said, is that you're going to, this horn right here, they're doing away with this logo, the horn logo. They're going to do something different there. And apparently they're going to bring back the older logo, or a variation of the Rams skull horn. Look, it feels like it's all over the place. Kevin Demoff has some explaining to do because he kind of botched the 2020 rebrand. The Rams have the best uniforms in all of professional sports, at least in the conversation, with their Vince Ferragamo era, their Eric Dickerson era, those primary gold and navy, those gold and blue uniforms that just took over the NFL. Sports Illustrated actually ranked the Rams as having the best uniforms in the NFL in the 80s and the early 90s, and they've really been iconic. So we'll see what they end up doing. They're getting new uniforms across the board. It does feel like the helmet is going to be the same, and that LA logo is going to have no gradient. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. By the way, Zach Cohen, he's kind of the uniform expert for FanDuel, like I mentioned, and just kind of reaching out to him. It does feel like this is a lock at this point, that we're going to see a lot of different Ram stuff heading into the new season. But all right, Let's get to those big moves. Big moves the Rams could make. We're going to just throw these out there that would shock the NFL world to a degree, but not necessarily just exterior moves. I think the first one that I think would shock a lot of people is if the Rams were to draft a quarterback, and specifically that quarterback being Ty Simpson out of Alabama. Now, we know the Rams have a type, right? SEC quarterbacks, whether it be Stetson Bennett, whether that be, of course, Matthew Stafford out of Georgia. He still has years left in him. There's no doubt about that. But in the recent mock drafts, you've seen a lot of Ty Simpson to the Rams. With the Rams having the number 13 and the number 29 pick in the first round, there's definitely some smoke there. And at some point, the Rams are going to have to find Matthew Stafford's successor. And this is an opportunity to bring in someone that you don't have to start right away. You can ease him into things. He can work with Cliff Kingsbury. He can work with Sean McVay. Now, I do wonder, can Ty Simpson play cornerback? Can Ty Simpson catch passes? Can Ty Simpson do anything that would help the Rams win the Super Bowl next season? The answer to that is no, and that's why I personally would not draft a quarterback this round in this draft. I mean, if you see a diamond in the rough type of guy that you feel has a lot of upside later, maybe you do that. But I still think the Rams are going to get creative for the next quarterback, whether it be trading up for a quarterback. We know how there were rumors about Arch Manning and what that could look like next season. Do you trade future picks to try to get someone like him? It just, Ty Simpson, even though he did have that back injury that certainly hurt his production last season, Ty Simpson, just I can't close my eyes. I can't close my eyes and visualize Ty Simpson winning a Super Bowl with Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams. I just can't picture it. Then on top of everything else, I think there's also kind of the subplot of, hey, this is Los Angeles. This is Hollywood. This is the city of not just stars, but superstars. Matthew Stafford isn't a great quarterback. He's a superstar quarterback. He's an MVP. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's one of the best throwers of the football that we've ever seen. Jared Goff, before him, they traded up to get him with the number 1 pick. This is a city to be relevant, to also just win championships. You got to have a superstar. I just don't think Ty Simpson has superstar written all over him. I don't even feel like he's kind of the Jackson Dart type. I just don't think this is the draft that you want to go crazy with the quarterback. I think you really focus your assets and your resources on 2026, and you really can't be mad about what happens after that. If the Rams have to have a couple lean years because they went for it in the years of Matthew Stafford's twilight of his prime in his NFL career, I don't think any Rams fans would be furious if maybe you had a down season after Matthew Stafford was done, just because the NFL is designed for teams to have down years. With the salary cap, with the fact that you're essentially penalized for drafting well, the better you draft, the more guys you have to pay, and it hurts you to a degree. So I think the only regret that would set in would be 4 or 5 years down the line and us saying to ourselves, well, look at Matthew Stafford. Matty Stafford came a couple plays short of beating the eventual Super Bowl winning champions 2 straight years against the Eagles in 24 and then against in the 24-25 season and then the Seahawks in the 25-26 season. They were so close to beating both of those teams. So if you look back and you say, wow, we'll take the 1 Super Bowl in 2021 and we'll feel really good about it. But I know that with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, they're good enough to win multiple Super Bowls. And you can never have enough pieces. I talked about drafting Mekhi Lemon. Look, when the Rams drafted Torrey Holt with the number 6 pick, they had Marshall Faulk and Isaac Bruce on that roster. I think you got to draft the best player available. Kind of go with the Bill Parcells kind of approach is, hey, let's see what's available. And if there's an opportunity for a quarterback, I mean, who's that going to be, though? I just don't see this draft as the Rams quarterback draft. I really don't. And my hope is that at some point you can really get a superstar to fill those shoes, and Ty Simpson just doesn't feel like that guy. But this would be a big move, though. So that's why the topics today and the theme of the show is, what are the big moves? And if the Rams would make that move, it'd be a big move. It would be like, oh, wow, this is drafting Jordan Love when you have Aaron Rodgers. This is drafting Aaron Rodgers when you have Brett Favre, right? So I don't see it happening, but if it presents itself in an opportunistic situation where the Rams feel like they have other areas addressed, cornerback, maybe another playmaker, things like that, then maybe you pull the trigger, but it has to be very circumstantial. But coming up next, we got 5 more big moves. We're going to throw out some bonus ones, too, that the Rams could make that would shock the NFL world this offseason. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. Welcome to the 5-hour energy flavored draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5-hour energy flavored draft. And I got to go with the cotton candy as my number one pick. I love the taste. I love the flavor. It makes me feel like I'm at the fair again as a kid. Love me some cotton candy. They also just get the taste down, and it gives you that big boost of energy. And it really just gives you that big boost with zero sugar. How many times do you have to have sugar or other things like coffee or stuff like that? No. 5-hour energy gives you the great boost with a great taste. I love it. It is my go-to. Find your new favorite flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a big shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. Also, a reminder to join the Everyday Listeners Club. You get access to ad-free audio. You get a members-only Discord server where we'll be chiming in. You've got all kinds of really cool stuff, exclusive content, exclusive merch, and best of all, you take your Rams fandom to the next level by supporting me and our guy, Sweet T-Raj, the People's Champ, Travis Rogers. So join the Everyday Listeners Club. Go to LockedOnRams.supercast.com today for more details. That's LockedOnRams.supercast.com to join that Everyday Listeners Club. Okay, some more big-time moves the Rams could make. We talked about this one a couple days ago, but going out there and signing a formerly big-name wide receiver. We talk about Deebo Samuel. I think that's less likely, but Mike Evans is a name that I'm going to be interested in seeing how his market develops early on in free agency. The Rams need a wide receiver 3. He's a wide receiver 1 and 2 on his best day. He's had an extremely productive career. He is going to be potentially available if he hits free agency. And just imagine having him as a deep threat, as a red zone option, pairing him alongside Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. If he's interested in making a run at a Super Bowl, the Rams could be the perfect fit for him. He has got a ring in his career. He knows how that feels. He won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, but he could win another one. And I do think that for me, it'd be interesting. There is some, okay, he kind of does what Devontae Adams does, and would you have a little bit of redundancy there? Maybe, but still, I mean, you wouldn't say no depending on the contract if he were really available. If he were really available and he was interested in the Rams, I guarantee the Rams are going to listen. Next big move the Rams could make that would really shake things up would be trading for a cornerback and a big-name cornerback. The top name available would be Kansas City Chiefs cornerback Trent McDuffie. So the Rams are going to be linked to cornerbacks across the league once they become available. And until they draft a quarterback high, whether it be Mansour Delane, someone like that, or whoever they might target with the number 13 pick, McDuffie is someone that if the Chiefs are looking to trade him because of their current situation, because you kind of have to look at their cap situation and guys getting expensive. He could be a guy that says, okay, we're going to accept the fact that with Travis Kelce getting older and Patrick Mahomes still really good, but you kind of want to get that next wave. We saw during the Patriot reign with Tom Brady. It's like they changed out a lot of different players to get there. So I think with the Chiefs in this kind of mini rebuild they're going to be entering, and also, let's not forget, Patrick Mahomes suffered an ACL injury. So he's going to be recovering from that ACL injury. So it does make sense for the Chiefs to consider moving some pieces and get some draft picks to really get that rebuild in motion, the mini rebuild in motion. So Trent McDuffie, I mean, this is a real star player. I mean, he's a guy that you can trust can step up into that spot and be productive. Like, he is a guarantee to be really good. And the cornerback position is a young man's position. It really is. And it's one of those athletic positions in all sports. You're playing the whole game backwards, right? You're just moving backwards, backpedaling. This requires so much athleticism. And Trent McDuffie is just 25 years old. He turns 26 in September. So he's entering the prime of his career. He was a first-round pick out of Washington in 2022, and he's just been a really, really good NFL player. So that would be a huge cornerback trade option. Another cornerback trade option you're going to throw into that mix is Denzel Ward, former Ohio State Buckeye for the Cleveland Browns. Now, he's a little older, 29, but he's been kind of floated around as a potential trade option with the Browns looking to possibly get some more draft pieces, some more picks, some more capital. Denzel Ward's a 5-time Pro Bowler, 18 career picks, 104 pass defended, and also he has 2 non-guaranteed years left on his contract. So that's at $32.9 million as a cap hit in 2026 and $29.4 million cap hit in 2027. So if the Rams felt like they could get him to a point where he's one of the best cornerbacks again in the NFL, and he's kind of still picking up on that note, that if they felt good about that financial investment, Denzel Ward's a guy that could be available too. So there are some cornerback trade options. And then the next big one is, do you draft a couple cornerbacks in the first round? Do you take a cornerback in the first round? A guy like a Jermad McCoy out of Tennessee, Colton Hood. I mean, the Rams might be in the mix for Mansour Delane out of LSU. But the Rams, you know, you're probably going to take at least one cornerback. And I kind of like that idea, is you take a cornerback to develop, and then you get one that's more of a proven, established cornerback that you can trust in year one. And you don't have to worry about that bust potential, that learning curve potential, and you can find that via trade or free agency. But it's not, the Rams could certainly use some high draft capital on a quarterback. It's certainly something that is possible. Another thing that's possible too is the Rams trading up for a safety. Now, I think that, like I said, sometimes every now and then there's a position where you're wondering, okay, is this the guy, right? Well, Quentin Lake, they gave him a new deal. Cam Curl would be the Rams' most expensive free agent. Well, could you look to get Caleb Downs out of Ohio State? And my mom's a Buckeye. I watch a lot of Ohio State football. By a lot, I watch every single game. And Caleb Downs is special. They line him up all over the field. With the Rams, he could fill a need. And if you look at where the price is, you could move up from 13. 13 is not to the point where it's not unrealistic to be able to realistically move up to get a player that's pretty special. And look, the Rams have a history of doing that. I mean, they trade up to get Jared Goff in 2016. And who knows if you want to give up the 29th pick as well to get up to get Caleb Downs. I mean, if they really feel like Caleb Downs is a game changer, which he really could be a special, like multi-time All-Pro, he's that good, who knows? Maybe that's a world where you can improve the secondary and you feel really good about it, where Emmanuel Forbes, you can trust his growth and you get someone else because you know Kobe Durant, Keller Witherspoon, Darius Williams like that are likely going to be gone. So I'm looking for special. I really am looking for special. That's certainly a special move that they could make. But coming up next, the biggest move the Rams could make. The biggest move the Rams could make. Big, blockbuster, massive, huge, would be one of the biggest headlines this offseason. I'll tell you what it is next on Locked On Rams. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by the users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease, and it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. Over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Recipes are simple but feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay. Everything arrives pre-portioned, so there's less prep, less mess, and no wasted food. Saves time and money. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on groceries. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open when the pressure's on and you need the right hire. This is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is the job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. All right, here in our last segment. That was a pretty intense tease. And I think you guys, since you've been watching this show all offseason, you probably know what I'm going to say next. really the biggest blockbuster move they could make potentially would be to go out there and get Max Crosby, defensive end from the Las Vegas Raiders. So this is a veteran. This is a player that is a game wrecker. And to get him, it wouldn't be cheap. You're probably going to have to include multiple first-round picks and Byron Young. Byron Young led the team with 12 sacks last season. The Rams are going to have to decide if they're going to pay him. He's a part of that 2023 draft class along with Puka Nacua and Kobe Turner and Steve Avila. And I think Byron Young's a really good player. I really do. Do I think that he's a future Hall of Famer game wrecker that we've seen impact this team? I do not. And I know there are people out there that are against the idea of going and getting Max Crosby because they already have Jared Verse, V8. They already have Byron Young and Braden Fisk and Kobe Turner. All those guys are really, really good. I think Jared Verse is the guy that has the potential to maybe be an all-pro player. I don't think he had the big leap forward we all hoped that he would have in year 2. But let's not forget, the window is the window. And I look at the 2021 Super Bowl. I look at the 2022 Super Bowl. I look at Super Bowl 56. And if you go back and look at the All-22 film, on the plays at the end of the game where Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and those Bengals receivers were open, Joe Burrow couldn't give him the football. And the reason for that is because Aaron Donald was so dominant and decided, I want to end this football game right now. And Von Miller is another guy that they brought in that could just wreck the game on any given play. Ask yourself this question. Do you believe the Rams have that right now? Honestly answer that question. They have the potential to have that. But look at Von Miller early in his career. Look at Aaron Donald early in his career. Pretty quickly into their careers, they were those guys. And I want to see the Rams on defense have a guy that can shut the game down. And Max Crosby loves Matthew Stafford, says he's in his top 5, and then he loves Matthew Stafford. He's a big Matty Stafford guy. So, I mean, Crosby, 53 pressures last year. That was 20th out of 115 edge defenders. He had a 79.7 overall PFF grade at 16. So, is that elite? Say last year I would have put him at elite status, but he was on the Raiders. And the Raiders are a team that doesn't necessarily bring the best out of players. But he's a 2-time second-team All-Pro, a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's really, really, really good. And he's elite when he's at his best. So I'm not saying that you're desperate for this move, but if you found out the Rams had traded for Max Crosby, would you be upset? Would you be mad about it? Would you be mad if the Rams got Mad Max? I don't think you would. I think that you would all of a sudden say, wait a second, if Sean McVay and Les Snead thinks it's a good idea, it's probably a good idea. So we'll see if anything materializes with this. But I want to see a big, big swing. And this is an example of a big, big swing. We're talking contracts. We're talking draft picks. We're talking absorbing that money. And, yes, you got to pay guys for sure. But if you think you can figure out this quarterback situation and you feel good about the wide receiver situation, let's say you do get a Mike Evans, right? And you don't have to use that draft capital on a Mekhi Lemon, or you don't feel good about using draft capital on a wide receiver or cornerback, and you just say to yourself, well, look, we can get Max Crosby to take this defense to a whole nother level while also addressing the cornerback spot. The edge position is so valuable in this game. I think you go out there and get Mad Max if the opportunity presents itself, because we've seen what that caliber of player, and no one's Aaron Donald, and there'll never will be another Aaron Donald. And I'm not saying Max Crosby is as good as Aaron Donald or even close, quite frankly. But Crosby definitely is a whole nother level of player than Jared Verse and Byron Young. And there's no debating that. And if you watch the tape, if you watch the film, if you talk to people who cover this league, they'll agree with me on that one. So just throwing it out there that all the options have to be on the table. Remember, we are all the way in. The FM Picks era is going to be the FM Picks era 2.0 potentially, because the Rams are all in on 2026. But that's going to be this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.